live production. I'm your host, Lauren Meadows, with the best shoe game in the Gator media. And tonight we will take a post transfer portal look at the SEC power rankings. Florida comes in at 10th. Should Florida fans be patient, or is it fair to accept the Gators in the bottom half of the conference? Once again, spring is upon us, and it's softball season. It's Tim Walton and the fourth-ranked Florida Gators softball team gets ready for their big weekend in Tampa. We'll break all of that down with Rob Brown of SEC Sidelines, Noah Ram of the Gainesville Sun, and our very own Dan Bond of Gatorbait Media to talk about Gator football and get the ladies some with some Gator softball. The Sidelines Live team would like to thank our sponsors, Meldon Law and Titan MRI and Imaging. Subscribe to The Lowdown with Lauren Meadows on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our partner shows on the Sidelines Live Network, The Buddy Martin Show, Scarborough Knows, and Gator Hoopla coming to you soon from the Meldon family. Follow yours truly on Instagram at Ohio Gator for Life and X at Real Ohio Gator. Let's get to it. Before we get into those power rankings, I want to bring my man Rob Brown in to welcome him into the show. And if you guys watch the Gators this weekend, I want to kind of put something to bed and get Rob's opinion on it, and not to get into a talk about societal woes, so to speak, Rob, but a situation where we had a guy, I think 26, 27 years old this weekend playing for Alabama as the Gators came to or the Crimson Tide came to town. It was kind of a back and forth between Nate Oates and Ty Golden. And Ty Golden made his feelings known and plainly said, hey, we're going to beat them anyway. And, that they did. But, I want to get the Gator fans' thoughts on this. The fans that are watching the show, appreciate all you guys tuning in. But I got a question. Let's just say that for some reason, few years back, Colin Castleton hadn't signed he played in some NBA games, but let's just say, relatively speaking, he had some eligibility left and he wanted to come back to Florida. How would people feel about that? I mean, obviously Florida was able to prevail 100 to 77 in a pretty much dominant game. And I thought Florida was the better basketball team, regardless of some guy coming back from the NBA. But in that case, Rob, I mean, is this something that you think that, and there was a judge from Alabama that kind of decided and got to stay and all those things, but is it a situation where when you look at it, you think, okay, they got to get a handle on this thing? And I don't want to get into get off my line. I want to talk about you and I to have a real conversation about what is going on with the NCAA and them basically allowing folks to just come in and play.
I'll give you a little timeline of events. I talked to Judge Roberts. I know his wife. She's been on my show many times as a guest. Okay. She's an attorney as well. He is a graduate of the University of South Florida. And what people, I guess, are confused about, he went to Cumberland Law School in Birmingham. Now, his wife is an Alabama grad. He's not, but they live in Tuscaloosa. I did a lot of digging on that. First off, there's a computerized model that spits out these cases. And Judge Roberts didn't choose it. It was dumped on him, so he had to make a ruling. So we had this discussion last Thursday on the show with Gary Harris, Tuscaloosa sports director, WVUA Channel 23, a true grit journalist. You'd love this guy. You ever want him on your show? He is as good and objective as it gets. And he said, I don't like it. None of us do. He said, but, look around at all these guys that play in the European leagues for 3 and 4 years. Auburn's got a guy on there that's 22 years old from Serbia, I think. And so they're playing in the European leagues. Then they come over here and play in college. Look, if you start getting into our Constitution, you can't deny a man or a woman the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I hate it. I hate the thought of someone going to the pro leagues and coming back. and people are going to say what they're going to say, but you also got to look at this kid. At least he didn't give up. I mean, they gave him opportunity. Hey,
Right. And the
he
gentleman we're
could have
talking
thrown in
about
the towel.
is Charles Bediako,
Yeah,
center for Alabama, played 24 minutes,
yeah,
scored 6 points, and had 7 rebounds.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I think that and that's enlightening for me. So in this judge's decision, what was his? I mean, Rob, we're smart guys. What was the precedent or the amendment? What federal statute are they using to, because enlighten me. I'm obviously none of us like it. Let's just face it. I mean, we want to make amateurism, being a professional. But what statute are they using for this kind of ruling? What is the landmark, or is there a case that they're leaning on, or is it simply life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Well, we had Everett Hoagland on, who's in the federal public defender's office in Chattanooga, and he used to work in Tuscaloosa. Knows the judge, and I think the case that they're using is the NCAA. And I'm not a lawyer, but my lawyer, my attorney, my personal attorney, has told me this. All the NCAA is keeps them up at night and keeps them from getting sleep or antitrust laws. So that's what it gets down to is, can you deny someone like the right to come back and it cut through all the BS and all the minutia. This guy is realizing, golly, I'd have stayed in college. That's what the story is. He said, if he would have known he could have stayed in college and made the kind of money kid
Mm,
today off of his name, image, and likeness, he never would have turned pro. Well, we don't know that, but it's coming. We had the discussion with Wes Neighbors today, uh, and there's going to be an NFL guy that doesn't make it, wants to come back to college. At some point, you got to push the birds out of the nest. They got to go fly on their own. But the NCAA, the director, Charlie Baker, former governor in Massachusetts, he is the latest feckless, spineless, gutless head of the NCAA, and nobody has the stomach to take on the challenge. But I, all I can say, I'm guessing that they're saying you can't deny someone the right to earn a living
right.
and
And
got eligibility. That's what they're going to
right.
say.
And then you think about it too. I mean, and to play, I guess not devil's advocate, but to see it from
Yeah,
both sides,
yeah,
you do look at a young man who, prior to NIL, probably would have stayed in school.
yeah,
A lot of these young men were thinking, I got to go feed my family. I
yeah,
got to help mom. I got to help dad. I got sick, parents. I got brother and sister. I got, you know, people need clothes, need food, and I got to go be the breadwinner. So let me jump out there. An agent, just like they're doing now, waves some money at him, says, hey, you should go pro, and you go pro. And like you said, had they known they could have stayed in school and done this very same thing, then they would have stayed in school. So I mean, I can see that, when you put it that way, Robin, that's a great way of putting it. But I guess, I'm asking, if you have, I want Florida fans to answer, I guess. What if this was Florida?
mhm,
Chris Walker a few years back, unceremoniously left Florida to go pro, probably would have stayed in school in this very same situation, hadn't been heard of, didn't have the opportunity to make money,
yeah.
probably bounced around different leagues overseas. If he would have come back, how would they feel? How would Florida fans feel? And I would like for you to answer, if you're out there, guys watching the show, what is that would we be okay as Florida Gator fans? Would you be okay as an Auburn grad, Rob? I mean, it's very easy for us to point fingers at other places and things like that, but if it was at home, would we show up to the old dome and cheer just as loud? Or if Bediako would have said, well, I'm not going back to Alabama, I'm going to come to Florida, and back up Ruben Chinyelu, how would we really feel about it? I'm not saying I probably wouldn't like it,
Yeah.
but I would probably wouldn't stop rooting for Florida either. I think it's very easy to say that, when it's not necessarily happening to us. But
Yeah,
you
that
know,
that's exactly what we were talking about with Gary and every day this week. It's what if it's your school? Because it's going to happen. I
mm.
mean, I don't think any Auburn fan would object if Jabari Smith said, "Look, I got
That's a little different.
I got 3
he,
years left."
he
Walker
balling
Kessler,
though.
come
Yeah.
on, Walker Kessler, come
Right,
back. I
right,
mean,
right.
but it is not good. Once you leave, you can't come back. Nothing will destroy a relationship between a mother, a father, parents, and their children than for their children to move out, go to college, get a job, and move back in. My mother and my older sister, almost killed each other after she moved back from New York after working up on in New York in the Wall Street firm for 3 years, and that lasted about 10 months. And she just was trying to figure out where she was going to move to. But that's where the problem is. At some point, you got to say, you can't do this anymore. We've got guys in college now for 8th and 9th years. This is what the problem is. But I hate it. You hate it, but you're fair and reasonable. By the way, I'm pretty damn excited about that Utah Jazz trade with the Memphis
I was
Grizzlies
just ready to jump
because
in there. Yeah, that
Walter
was
Clayton Jr. coming to Memphis. I'm going to be cheering like hell for that guy. I
right, no
love
doubt.
him. He's the best
So
player in college basketball last year.
right, no doubt. And I think that's I mean, let's face it, nobody. Salt Lake City is a very beautiful city,
Yeah.
but it's also a city that is different. I'll just leave it at that. It's a very different city.
Yeah.
And to be there as a basketball player, obviously you're only there, really 41 nights and you practice them, but you're really traveling once the season starts.
Yeah.
But in a big trade, the Memphis Grizzlies have been looking to maybe move Jaren Jackson for a while. Looks like even Ja Morant maybe down the road. There's been a couple trades in the NBA, but the one that Gator fans will be most concerned about is Utah receives Jaren Jackson, Jock Londale, John Conchar, and Vince Williams Jr. And Memphis receives Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, and George Niang, and 3 future first-round picks. So you get a first-round pick, well, it's actually 2, and Walter Clayton Jr. and Kyle Anderson, and 3 future first-round picks for basically Jaren Jackson. So looks like the Memphis Grizzlies are kind of looking to go ahead and flip this thing over. Walter Clayton, that might be a match made in heaven if Morant can get his act together. I mean, Clayton's a guy that'll defend, play off the ball, but definitely a change of scenery and a little closer to home. So I think that definitely shout out to Walter. Had a great senior season. Kind of the three. Well, between him, Elijah Martin, Will Richards kind of found his niche there in Golden State. Walter Clayton's kind of in and out of the lineup a little bit, but definitely a nice change of scenery and gets him out of Utah. I mean, I think Utah, like I said, I don't think Clayton skis or does some things like that. So it might be a little bit more his speed there in Memphis, Rob.
Look, he's going to have a lot of fans. Memphis is an SEC melting pot. It is wide open, but people, I mean, the Grizzlies games are fun at the Forum. 19,000. I've been to hundreds of their games over the years. When these SEC kids come to town, they are automatically accepted. I mean, that's just that's your green card. Okay, you're coming in. I don't blame him. Salt Lake City. That I know people that have moved out there, and it's so different. And kind of if you're not a Mormon, it's tough to fit in, and it's a beautiful state. It's got 5 national parks, but I would rather be Memphis is a. I mean, obviously basketball is huge, but he's an SEC guy, and it was the player of the year in college basketball on the national champion team last year. So yeah, I think so. And look, he doesn't have any eligibility left, does he?
Nah, he used it. I think he used this COVID year and everything. Yeah. So I think he's that's a little bit it for him. But yeah, I mean, you never know, no doubt. But and speaking of Gator hoops and the team as well, we got a new show coming, and I think last week was kind of the preview, but it's kind of our segue to the good folks at Meldon Law. the only official law firm of the Florida Gators, proven and skilled lawyer since 1971. And our good friend, Mr. Jeffrey Meldon, is going to have his own show Thursday nights at 9 o'clock here on the Gator Sports SEC or Sidelines Network, Gator Bait Media Network, and called Gators Hoopla. So, going to be talking a lot of basketball. Mr. Meldon is a fan of both teams. Courtside seats at the men, courtside seats at the women. Obviously, gave away those great championship rings, has done a lot to push the game of basketball and other sports as well. But remember the folks at Meldon Law. If you have any legal needs, they'll be able to help you with them. If they can help you, they'll put you in contact with somebody that can help you. Doing a lot of good things in the Gainesville community. Now offices basically up and down the turnpike from, I think, Lake City all the way down to South Florida. Rob just doing a great work there. And now Gators Hoopla is the next endeavor of the Meldon Law family. Really excited about that. I'm sure I'll make a couple guest appearances, talk a little hoops as we get into this thing we call March Madness, just a few weeks away. And good luck wishing Jeffrey Meldon the very best with his show. And, I'm sure we'll be on there cracking it up a little bit too, Rob. So definitely. So with that, we can bring in our next guest, Mr. Noah Ram, joining us. Man, you outside? What you doing?
I'm in a location on UF campus. I'm not going to disclose, but
okay.
We'll leave that up to the audience if they can guess where I
am. No doubt. Appreciate you coming on, Noah. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? I was listening to the discussion you guys were having about Walt beforehand, and yeah, Utah. For a guy that lived his entire life in Florida, except for 2 years in the New York metro area, I don't think Utah was the
right.
Right,
yeah.
Not to move. Yeah, I don't think that was the right place.
When I saw that, I was like,
well, especially if he was being mocked to like the Heat or the Magic or like also going to a team like that, and that's why I feel a little badly ended up in Memphis. While Rob, you're right, Memphis is a lot more of his speed in terms of a city. I feel badly though. It is another rebuilding situation. It would be nice to see him be like a Will Richard and be put on a team that's contending and or at least wants to contend. Because Memphis now, my guess is they're going to trade John Morant after this, and then now you're looking at a situation where that's a team that's in rebuild mode. But it's an opportunity for him to shine, hopefully, and hopefully he'll be an integral part of their future there.
Oh yeah, and I mean, my thing is, man, if you can eliminate. Memphis has been a lot of foolishness for about the last 3 or 4 years with Dylan Brooks and some of those guys and trying to, instead of playing basketball, trying to punk people. I think if they can really, just settle in, Walt Clayton's a stand-up dude, get some guys to play the game with a little class and get all the foolishness away. I mean, Memphis is a great city, gets a bad rap. Rob, you know that. I mean, I was in Memphis for 4 days, didn't have one issue whatsoever. So I think, you get there, you get some class people, great arena right there downtown, right there off of Bill Street. I mean, excellent location. I mean, it'd be a great opportunity for him. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah,
no doubt.
He'll be loved. I mean, Memphis is, they say it's a basketball town. They love college basketball, and then the Grizzlies. I mean, golly, the game is almost an afterthought. There's so much going on down there, the entertainment, everything. But I just think any of these SEC players that come into town, I mean, golly, I would. Utah, my youngest son's living out in Moab, Utah right now. He's training for the Moab 240. I'm like, how much longer are you going to stay out there? The race is next October. I'm like, come on back home to Memphis, and before that he was in California, but he's my free spirit. That's cool. But I just going to see Walter Clayton Jr. I mean, I want the Grizzlies to win, but I just want to go watch him play because I watched him play at Florida, and I thought he was just a badass and a catalyst for a national championship team. You don't get to see that often.
Yeah, and Buck Wade, you like Kansas or Illinois? I think a lot of people are still sleeping on UConn. I think Arizona is pretty good, but I'm gonna put the Gators in the second weekend, and then we'll see what happens. But we'll get to that down the road a little bit. But one thing I want to talk about, and this is something that came out and kind of caught my eye. The SEC's old friends at CBS put out their power rankings kind of post transfer portal. And I don't know if the folks saw it, but I'll give you a guess what team was at the top. What do you think, Rob?
Post transfer portal, LSU at Indiana.
No, just SEC.
Oh, SEC, LSU.
The LSU. What do you think, Noah?
I think they did well.
So this is total team, not just how they did simply in the
total
portal.
Team. After the transfer portal, though, with transfers.
Oh.
Yeah, I wouldn't say LSU just because, I don't think they did a good job, but not good enough. I'll say Texas.
There you go. Winner, winner, winner. So,
Texas. Yeah.
And this is where I want to go with it, but we're going to go a couple places with it. Texas, number 1, Georgia, number 2, Texas A&M, number 3, Oklahoma, number 4, LSU, 5, Alabama, 6, little drop, Ole Miss, 7, Missouri, 8, South Carolina, 9, Florida comes in at 10, Tennessee, 11, and that's kind of with an asterisk if Joey Aguilar wins his court case. Auburn, number 12, 13, Kentucky, 14, Vanderbilt, 15, Arkansas, 16, Mississippi State. Anything else stand out to you, Rob?
I tell you one thing, Auburn's been in a 5-year bear market, 6-year bear market. If they can't get their act together,
don't say that other word.
They're gonna go. They're gonna go the way
Family
of
show.
Mississippi State or the Dodo Bird. I mean, I know a lot of the decision makers at Auburn, and they could screw up a 2-car funeral with what they've been doing lately. I mean, you allow Alan Green to spitefully, hatefully hire arguably the worst coach in Auburn history, Brian Harsin, who's followed up by, without a doubt, the worst coach in Auburn history, Hugh Freeze. So all Hugh Freeze could do was to buy players with the yellow fella's money, and he did no developing, and he missed the quarterback thing 3 years in a row. So I'll just say, Lane Kiffin, it's what'd you bring in, but what did you lose in the process? Auburn's number 65. So I think Summerall is better at developing players, and I think Ryan Silverfield's got 76 new guys coming in at Arkansas. Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to be wearing name tags up there. And A&M, you got a room full of J.R. Ewings every time they get together. Everybody's bench pressing their wallet in public. That's why nothing ever gets done. Nothing changes. And Sark, he underperforms his talent everywhere he goes.
Noah, anybody stand out?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in Summerall's defense, I think if you're looking at all the new coaches in the conference, with the exception of Lane Kiffin, taking him out, if you're going to compare him to Arkansas, Auburn, he had the least upgrading he had to do with the roster. With him, it was obviously just keeping the guys we had in place, which he did. And that matters to me more than anyone they got in the portal. The fact that besides DJ, which, you got Aaron Philo to replace him, you're kept everyone, every important person of substance on the team. So I think that, they, someone like a Ryan Silverfield who had to bring in, he has to bring in 75 players because they were talent-wise the worst team in the SEC last year. Them in Mississippi State, and then Auburn, Hugh lost us some games too, but it wasn't as bad as what, Billy was doing here. So I don't think, I think Florida, I think 10 is an appropriate spot. I think 10 is something, in terms of actual football in the SEC, Florida was 13-14 last year. So 10 is still a nice upgrade before we've even seen Summerall coach it down. So right. Maybe you could say higher, but again, they're still talking about a team that won 4 games last year, can't and brings in a new coach that resets things. And maybe we see what Curt Cignetti did, and that does change the standards to an extent. But, this is still a team that is going to be probably at best middle, upper to middle of the pack in the SEC this year.
Right. And which brings me to my point. I'm about to put my fan hat on. I ain't going for that unless every team in the SEC is 8-4 and they beat each other. Is it enough, or you guys tell me, should Florida fans with a team that is considered to be in the bottom half of the SEC, are we in that whole thing that we heard the first 2.5 to 3 years with Billy Napier? Well, we got to give him time. Or is it reasonable for fans to say, we don't want to be patient. We should. I mean, my thought is, and you guys could correct me if I'm wrong. I think Rob, we've talked about this. Yeah. To me, 8-4 is the floor at a school like Florida. Even in the transfer portal era, even in the NIL, 8-4. Because if you think about it, I think if Billy Napier would have coached a little better, they probably had 2 or 3 8-4 seasons in them, but couldn't get over the top. 8-4 to me is when people talk about the standard. You don't have to win a natty every year or even make, but 8-4 to me puts you in the mindset of we're gonna beat some, we're gonna lose some, but we're gonna be in every one. Is that reasonable, Noah, or is it maybe just, or do we still need to teach or preach patience with this football team, or is that enough? Particularly when you look at the job that Kurt Cignetti and Indiana was able to do, and you're talking about a school where you're the only school of the big three never to make the playoff. Now, I mean, all of those things, and yes, Cignetti had the Cuban money and the guy from Cook Medical and all those people, but you still got to coach the team. And with the X's and O's involved, to me, 8-4 should be the floor. But you tell me if I'm wrong, Noah.
I think that what helps them a lot this year that no one talks, that people, not no one, but doesn't get talked probably enough with Cignetti is, especially his first year and building up that culture of winning where he could then get more big money donors for this past season. They had a ridiculously easy schedule. I mean, I'm remembering 2 years ago, the only really tough game they ended up playing was Ohio State, and they lost. And they played Notre Dame in the playoff, and they lost. And that leads me to Florida does benefit really massively this year from an easier schedule. I mean, this is never mind. Yes, you're adding a new conference game, but they're a non-conference. They should go 3-0. They shouldn't go 2-2 like they did. There's no Miami on the schedule. FAU, Campbell, even FSU. Obviously FSU. They should win those games. And then you get to now play in Auburn and Kentucky. That's probably at least
you lost to last time out, though. Remember,
you did, but that was also with an interim coach. I don't think that's going to happen. And that game, it is in Lexington again. But I don't really have a lot of faith that Kentucky is going to. I think Florida's in a better spot than they are. So you say that's 5 wins right there. I think 8 wins. 8 wins might be a little ambitious, but the way that basically keeping this roster intact, and especially if Trammell or Philo, one of them pans out. And then obviously, you got Jaden Baugh back there and Jaden Baugh balls out like we expect. Then I think 8 wins is possible because I literally have their schedule pulled up right here. The only games you enter not feeling great about are obviously the trip to Austin and then the Georgia game. That's really it. I mean, Ole Miss comes. Their other 3 most difficult games are all at home, which is Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma. Crazy, by the way, that we're putting Vanderbilt in that group, but they deserve to be in that group with what Clark Lee has done. So, and we know how good this team has been at home, not just under Billy, but just historically. So I think that, 8 is realistic. I think 8 is very plausible the way the schedule plays out. Like they could go on maybe an Indiana like run where they maybe even go 9-3 for all we know. And it's like, how did that happen? Well, you got some nice breaks with the schedule. I hate to blame it because I know it's kind of like, oh, schedule. It's like you get the lucky breaks, but listen, that stuff matters. And Florida had the toughest schedule in the country last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and before we go, and here's what I'm going to say about the schedule, and I keep saying it. I understand the schedule. And yes, the schedule was tough, but you don't get to poke your chest out and say SEC, 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 and complain about the schedule.
Yeah,
that's my only thing. You don't get to mock Indiana for playing Sisters of the Poor, poke your chest out and say SEC, SEC, then complain about the schedule. That's my only thing. Rob, what do you think? 8-4?
Well, first off, yeah, it should be at a school like Florida because you have everything. That it's just you have everything you need. You have a recruiting base, the best track and field high school programs probably in America, or one of the top 3 track and field states, and that matters in football. But strength of schedule last year, 15 of the 16 SEC schools were in the top 16 for strength of schedule. Missouri was at number 20. But strength of schedule doesn't mean anything. Really, it's so overrated. Dave Bartu says this on our show every week, College Football Matrix. And he said that teams with the big strength of schedule numbers we're 5-6 in the playoffs. So I think we overrate how tough the SEC is, and going to a 9-game conference schedule next year. Everybody thinks that's another loss for everybody. Well, it's a loss for half the teams. Theoretically, it's not everybody's not going to lose the same. You can't lose at the same time. It's very hard for everybody to be right at the same time either. So a guy like Summerall, look, you have to look at his track record. He's played for the conference championship all 4 years he's been a head coach, 2 at Tulane and 2 previously at Troy. But he's a relationship guy, and watch him. He'll have some open practices for the Gator fans. In the world we live in, I'll tell you what's coming soon. There's going to be a massive boycott at one school, and then it's going to be nationwide. Fans are going to walk out in the second quarter, at halftime, in protest of all these kids that are walking away from their schools. That's what's going to be fun to watch, because I can tell you right now, doing SEC sidelines, my show every morning, I talk to a lot of my kids' ages, in their 20s. There's no connection with these players that are coming to your school. They're stopping by for a cup of coffee. We're losing that, and that's what makes college football. I mean, Noah, where are you from? Are you from Florida?
Yeah, from like the Treasure Coast area store.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you grow up a Gator?
Yeah.
So you could go, you could go end to end and name the starting lineup when you were a kid. I mean, I'm sure you're young, but in Lauren, same thing. The Buckeyes or whoever, who can name a roster? That's what makes us love college football. It's like if you've got kids, you got 3 or you got 11. You know every one of them's names. There's a connection there. We're losing that in college football. Cam Coleman, he accomplished. I could care less, if a guy like that leaves. What did he do? Back-to-back 5 and 7. I mean, Eugene Wilson III. Who cares if he leaves? What did he do? It's like Buddy said when that coach left Billy Napier's staff after his first year. He goes, "I would say I'm going to miss you, but I never knew you." I mean, that's it's hard to reminisce with people that you met 5 minutes ago. There's just not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I said, and on the flip of that, and I agree, Rob, but because you're able to, from a principle standpoint, I agree 100%. But when you're able to plug and play, and then like you mentioned, the recruiting base, I think the financial backing is overrated. And I was part of a think tank kind of conversation at halftime of the women's game the other night with Noah and a couple other sports writers. The money that people think Florida has put in place, you could debate that. But I still believe that with everything that this school has, 8-4, and I'm tired of people saying, well, we got to be patient. We got to be, I don't want to be patient. I want, I want to, I'm a season ticket holder. I want to go, and I want something that looks like the Florida I fell in love with. Selfishly, so to speak. But I'll digress and move on. But before we bring Dan Bond in and kind of switch gears, I want to talk about the good folks at Titan MRI and Imaging. Titan MRI and Imaging has several locations, 2 in Gainesville and 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI has no appointments needed, no insurance, no problem with self-pay options, larger MRI machines for patient comfort. They do everything from x-rays to CT scans. Some of the people I work with use Titan MRI, able to get you in, great customer service, always there for you. Coming soon to Ocala, Florida, to serve all of Marion County and surrounding areas. Titan MRI and Imaging, it's your choice. And with that, we're going to bring in my man, Dan Bond. Dan, you tell me, am I off my rocker to expect 8-4, or you finish it up? What do you think?
No, again, the schedule has
Now
loosened
forget the
up.
schedule. I'm talking about every year. I don't care who's on the schedule. I ain't talking about no schedule. You line up and play. 8-4 at Florida. Period.
Yeah, these
Didn't
6 and
Zook go
6.
like 9-3, 9-3, something like that? 8-4.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah. Go ahead.
they used to fire guys when they
Right.
they were wanting to run Spurrier out with 10 wins.
Right. Exactly.
Like, come on now. It's like we're not supposed to be having 6 wins at Florida.
Right. Right.
Or 4 that one time,
Right. Right. But no, I mean, so you tell me, am I off my rocker or not?
That is a reasonable expectation, and with the NIL and instant gratification, it was bad before. It's worse now. Look at Indiana. Everybody's gonna be like, "Look at Indiana. They're horrible," and they won it all. And it's all new folks in the playoffs. You're gonna see new people in basketball, where you have 40-year-olds playing basketball, or who knows what's going on over there.
Right.
Softball, let's hit softball. Texas Tech's paid their way to the World Series, and they got one more shot with their pitcher to try and win it all this year. So we'll see if the Gators can counter with Walton's steady recruiting, and he's got some good transfers in too. We can get into that as we
absolutely. So, what's that now?
We can get into that as we switch.
Yeah,
absolutely. But and I want to once again send a shout out to the people at Titan MRI and Imaging. I was at a breakfast, really nice breakfast put on by the Florida softball team this past weekend. They kind of did. It was kind of cool, Rob. They did a meet and greet where every athlete sat with a certain group of people. You can just sit down, but then they sat. But then they did like a speed dating kind of style where all the teams came, all the girls came around. Excuse me, women, not girls. Women came around and spoke to you. You could ask different questions for about 2 minutes. And Jossie Erickson had to go to church. So then Corby Otis kind of came in and took her place. So shout out to Corby Otis, future cardiothoracic surgeon, was accepted into Florida Medical School this past year. So this past fall. So gonna be a heart surgeon, Rob. From a left fielder to a heart surgeon. I told her if she ever needs somebody to come scrub in with her, I got it. That's my former wheelhouse. Some
people are just more accomplished than we are.
Man, don't give me a complex. No, it's bad, But no,
these softball and gymnastics ladies are really
they're sharp ladies.
Killing it.
And some of the soccer girls too, man. I mean, shout out to the soccer team as well. But softball. Like we talked about, Tim Walton steadily holding it together. 18 players total, and they brought in Caroline Stanton, who kind of did the football thing, graduated early. Football or softball is in the fall, I guess, in Georgia, where she comes from. Number 1 pitcher in the country out of Beaufort, Georgia, joined the team. But she's just going to kind of be developmental, kind of get her feet wet, learn, and then we'll see her next spring. But she did come along. But short roster, Dan, but full of talent and, breaking in some new people in some different positions. But I think the talent is still there with this group.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you got your core with Erickson and Rothrock, and I think Ava Brown's going to have a breakout year this year. Maybe she won't be as distracted this season.
You get messy. Man. You get messy.
Shoemaker, they're loaded. So, it is definitely, I want to see a little more timely hitting this season. I think a little bit of that will get that over the hump. I mean, last season was a no-win World Series trip, so that was just a little bit of a disappointment. Obviously, the bar there is to get to the Women's College World Series, and that's what Tim Walton does every year like clockwork. And that's the way it should be in football too, as far as your 8-4 floor. If the World Series can be the goal in one sport, and Todd Golden winning it all, it's all contagious for sure. And I think it's going to be another solid season. Yeah, pitching hold up. If the transfer pitcher, if she does all right, I don't know if you've seen her or not, but she's a short gal, so
Yeah,
that usually throws it off. If you got something
to
where you can mix
Allison
that up,
Sparkman.
and you got somebody
Yeah.
tall and you got somebody short,
Oh
that's
yeah,
gonna mix it up a little bit, and you want to get these batters swinging at everything. So we'll see.
yeah. And Keegan Rothrock has, added some, seemed to added some pitches she talked about. But Noah, this is a team that lost. You lose Kendra Falby, you lose Corby Otis, but still some speed on the base pass. You got Townsend Thomas, who will probably start in center and bat first, and then kind of bringing the order around is Gabby Camilla, who will play some second, some short, but we'll still have some speed on the base pass, and then you got the pop from Jossie Erickson, Taylor Shoemaker. I mean, this is a team that the 18 players. My only concern is really health. They've always been a team that's kind of leaned on Keegan Rothrock. You look for Red Oxley, maybe Olivia Miller. We talked about Sparkman and be somebody that can win you a postseason game or two. Obviously, Ava Brown seems to be moving into that utility / DP closer role, but it's still a team that I think can do damage. Like Dan said, with some timely hitting, and really, if Jossie Erickson always been a great catcher defensively, but can return to that first year form that she had there at Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a team that's just full of variables, which could be good, could be bad. I mean, obviously, it's like when it comes to Erickson and Rothrock, I mean, if they look like the way they did in 2024, because don't forget they were, maybe probably the third best team in the country 2 years ago, and they didn't have Taylor Shoemaker then. Now they had players like Skylar Wallace and Kendra Falby that are gone now, but they've obviously brought in pieces to replace them, and part of the reason they were so good that year is because of Erickson and Rothrock. And we forget last year they were still really good with them not at their best. I think tempering expectations, especially with Rothrock, I thought it was interesting when I was talking to Tim, to Tim last week. He said she's never going to have a clean bill of health. That's just not. I don't know if that's just the player she is. I don't know if that's unfortunately just kind of permanent damage from her first year and the amount of wear and tear they put on her so early. Even though they tried to prevent that, they've tried to prevent that ever since. Maybe the damage has been done, but they kind of know what to expect a little bit more this year. Bringing in someone like an Allison Sparkman, like you said, Lauren, who I saw her when she would come here for, I don't know if FGCU back-to-back years or one of the last 2 years, came here for regionals, and she's good. I mean, she was pitching well against the Gator lineup. They weren't winning because it's, this FGCU we're talking about, but she has stuff. And I mean, she'll be solid this year. I mean, so I think that the pitching staff will be fine, and they bring back pretty much everyone, with the exception of bringing in Sparkman, and you lose Kara Hammock. But I mean, that's pretty much a fair trade-off right there. So we'll see. I mean, I am a little bit worried about the outfield just because it's so unproven. I mean, you lose 2 of your 3. Obviously, you bring back the big one in Shoemaker. But Townsend Thomas, I mean, yeah, Tim was talking her up, that she could have contended for a starting job if she was healthy last year. So you want to take him at his word, but you just haven't seen her play. Literally, she hasn't played at all. So it's like, it's a little bit hard to say, to say exactly what to expect. And then, Cassidy McClellan is probably going to be the other outfielder. She hasn't played, she's played minimally, not a lot. This is her 3rd year. And they have some utility spots. But the crazy thing is they only have 3 actual outfielders. And I'm sure some of the utility players can go in the outfield, but it's not as deep of a team. Pitching, it's deep. In the infield, maybe a little bit deep, but in the outfield, it's one of the most slim teams they've had in recent years. And that's where you mentioned, Lauren, with the health comes in is an issue. Of how healthy they can stay. But yeah, I mean, I think 3 out of the 4 polls, they're right around 5 or 6. I think that's fair. I would not put them ahead of Texas, Oklahoma. The buy a championship Texas Tech team.
Right.
But I think that's pretty clearly a top 3. Tennessee, because of Carlin Pickens, you probably have to put 4th as well. After that, I don't see any reason you can't say Florida's number 5. And again, if Rothrock and Erickson looked, again, that's the biggest thing for me. If they look like the way they did 2 years ago, especially Erickson, they can be a real contender this year. I think that they can really, because they have the pitching depth, they have the lineup 1 through 9. Like it's just an unknown. It's just an unknown. Like you don't have the sheer talent probably isn't there as compared to last year, where last year you have a lot of players that were maybe a little underwhelming, and you still make it to OKC just because there was so much talent on last year's team. This year's team doesn't have that, so if something starts to go wrong, you can maybe be in a little bit of trouble. But I still think the expectation is them to make it to OKC, and I don't see any reason why.
Yeah, I mean, that's, they played a little montage video, and that's what Tim Walton said. He said, hey, you guys know what the standard is to make it Oklahoma City, Rob. And shout out to, I want to, this is kind of a feel good story. And while we're talking about all the jumping around and things like that, but, kudos to a young lady like Cassidy McClellan, who should start at left field for the Gators. Kind of stuck it out, Rob. Didn't complain, didn't moan, had some injuries, but always stayed the course. Played second base, played the outfield, did a lot of everything, right field, whatever she was needed to do, has been around this team and stuck it out. And, sometimes a little fortitude goes a little longer than money spent, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because that money, we're going to start hearing about these kids not paying their taxes. And I know some people at some schools that run these collectives, and they've actually had people come to them and say, why do we have to pay taxes on the money? Hell, we've already spent it. So that's a living brain donor right there. Someone that asked a question like that, but that's coming. But as far as, I love the stories about the people that don't quit, that stay, stick it out, because they're the best stories. Are you going to have a reunion in 10 or 20 years from your football team with 300 or 400 people there? I'm talking players. Weren't you here for like spring practice? What was your name again? Everybody's going to be wearing name tags. It's laughable. The only way this thing's going to collapse is when we run out of idiots and dumbasses. I mean, that's where we're going, because I can tell you, being a financial advisor for 35 years, if I went to my clients repeatedly and lost money with stupid, idiotic ideas and had no plan and was just grabbing it, straws in the air, you could get away with that. You shouldn't do it to begin with, but you wouldn't get away with it long. You're going to run out of people. We hear the term billionaire used so much in today's society. I mean, you may have 600 million. That's a lot of money. It's more than I've got, but it's not $1 billion. But there's a lot of wealthy people, a lot of people in this country that have money, but 95% of it is first generation wealth. People are not going to be funding this stuff forever. So the people that stick it out, they're the ones, if you network in, let's talk about the Florida alumni, 500,000 living alumni. Now we know Indiana's got like 800,000, but here's the problem that I see from Florida, having had a lot of clients in Florida over the years. It's a triple tax exempt state. But you go down, I've got friends, one of my clients was down in Bradenton, living down there, Sarasota. He goes, when we were moving to our house from Birmingham, this was like 8 years ago, he said, we stayed in a hotel in like Sarasota, and they had the Big Ten network, but they didn't have the SEC network. So you've got Ma and Pa Kettle that move here from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania to get away from the winters, and they moved to Florida. Their rear end is living in the state of Florida, but their money and their heart and their love is going back to Penn State or Pitt. That's the 23 million people in Florida. You've got to break it down. How many of those people are Florida natives and Brendan says like the Gator fan base is like 6.5 million people. So that's about 28, almost 30%. That's I guess it's 22% of your state is right there. So it's tough to go find people to continue to fund this stuff. The bag man, whatever you want to call them. But you've got a lot of transplants that live in Florida whose money is going somewhere else. And you got to be able to get to them and say, if you're going to live in Florida and you have a business here, especially, you need to support the University of Florida. We are the flagship brand in the state. Not that Miami's not good in Florida State, but you're the University of. And only one school in 50 states can say that.
Yeah,
in each of the 50 states.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm kind of an anomaly. I moved here. I'm from up north, but my money goes to Florida too. But
But you see what I'm saying about that?
Yes, sir, I do. I
okay.
do. And the softball team will open their season at the USF Rawlings Invitational Friday night, 7 o'clock. I'll be there along with others, and Ryan Urquhart and others will be there at Ryan Urquhart, the voice of the Lady Gators and Gator soccer and Gator softball as well. Friday night against Illinois State, followed by 2 games, I think, on Saturday against Michigan, as well as Bethune-Cookman, and then followed by a early morning 12 o'clock tilt against Kansas, and then wrapping it all together with a showdown of sorts against the USF Bulls to kind of complete the tournament. So it should be a fun time down there in Tampa for sure. Rob, who you got on the show tomorrow?
We're going to have Ron Higgins, one of the best sports writers in the South or in the country, talking college football, basketball in the SEC. Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas. Vince Ferrara out. He's got to interview a bunch of Tennessee basketball players tomorrow. Hey, when you can get one-on-one with the players and coaches, you can miss my show.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Dan, what you working on? Got what's going on with gymnastics?
Yeah, we got gymnastics. Missouri coming up Friday. They're number 7, another top 10 matchup there. They should do well. It looks like they're going to fix the vaults where they have that bad run where Lee Boy hurt her knee, and that was understandably a low score there. But they're looking good. Specialist of the week, Selena Harris Miranda. You've had Sky Blakely turn it up, and finally Kayla DiCello looks like she's up to par.
We lost Dan. Noah, what you got coming? What are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what we've already talked about, keeping tabs on softball. I'll be there next Wednesday when they have their home opener against JU. Keeping an eye obviously on gymnastics. Next Friday, back at home, Oklahoma. That is the biggest regular season meet that's gonna have happened here. It's Oklahoma's first time coming here as an SEC school. So since joining 2 years ago, so that'll be huge. Even was at a presser yesterday for UF lacrosse, which starts their season on Saturday and then has their home opener against Michigan in next Friday at the Diz. So keeping tabs on all the women's sports. Obviously, Lauren, as you know, women's basketball back at home this weekend for 2 games against Auburn and Arkansas. So
yeah,
hopefully 2 games they should be able to win.
Finally, for sure.
Getting out of this unbelievable gauntlet that they've been in.
Yeah.
And now the funny thing is the schedule isn't too difficult to end the season,
right?
Given what they've had to deal with. So hopefully maybe they could build some nice momentum, kind of with the season coming to an end. So yeah, and then obviously keeping an eye, should probably be there tomorrow for Summerall and for the coordinators to speak. Keeping an eye on everything going on with football, basketball, baseball. So and then high school as well.
Yeah, what time? What time is that? It's 11.
11 tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
With both coordinators. Is Summerall speaking as well?
Yeah. So Summerall, Buster, and then Brad White are all going to be talking. So
no doubt.
So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And then high school as well. Travis McGriff, who a lot of Gator fans know, of course, his son just committed to Clemson today, which is pretty exciting. So so good for him to get that opportunity to play, big time college football. So good. This is the busiest time of year to be a sports writer in this.
Yeah, no doubt. Shout out to Gil
Yeah.
McGriff, man. That's a good young man. I used to work with his mother. So
he's a good kid.
Not met the kid much, but know his mom and have talked to Travis a little bit. And so definitely excited for him. He's gonna stay a receiver, right?
He is.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
He's gonna be a receiver, and good for him to get to play the program that is, while they have fallen off, it's still Clemson. He still had to play for Dabo Sweeney. So super happy for him.
All right, who we got in the Super Bowl, guys? Give me a pick before we go. Noah.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I want to hear what
I'm definitely picking with my heart here, which is against the Patriots. I grew up, still am a Dolphins fan, so I hate the Patriots more than life itself. I root for Miami for the Heat. I just in general hate all Boston sports teams, especially the Patriots. So needless to say, I'll be rooting extremely hard. I will be wearing what are the Seahawks colors at this point? Blue and green
Blue
or whatever.
and like
Yeah,
neon green or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah. But I'll be supporting them. Never thought I'd be saying I'd cheering for Sam Darnold in a Super Bowl. But I think the Seahawks will win anyway. I think that they're a better team. That defense, you always want to have the better defense right now, and I think they have the better defense. And yeah, I think it'll be a close game, but give me the Seahawks.
All right, Rob.
I'm going. Dave Bartu convinced me. New England's like number 12 and 15 in offense and defense. And you look at the Seahawks, I think they're top 5 scoring efficiency, offense and defense. I'm with Noah. Seahawks. New England might not even score. They may score a touchdown late, a garbage touchdown, but Seahawks are going to win this thing, and it's going to be fun to watch. I think, is it revenge from one of the most boneheaded plays ever called when they lost? I don't believe in revenge, but I just think the Seahawks win.
No doubt. Well, I believe in revenge, and I don't think I don't even know if any of the Seahawks players were on that team or any of them. And I think Vrabel was done playing by the end. So I don't know if there's any connections other than the same two teams. But yeah, give me the Seahawks as well. I'm gonna go like 24-10 Seahawks to win. So definitely. But we'll see how it unfolds. I'll be rushing back from Tampa to see if I can get back in time for the for the Super Bowl. But and then like I will say this and keep it as apolitical as I can be. If you care about who's performing in the halftime show, you're not a real football fan. I don't care. I don't care who it is.
I can care less.
With that, yep. Go to the bathroom, get a snack. That's what I do. All right. Well, appreciate you guys, man. Thank you guys for joining us on this edition of the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows. He's Noah Ram of the Gainesville Sun. Rob Brown, SEC Sideline. Check him out every day at 8 a.m. Central, right?
9 a.m. Eastern.
9 a.m. Eastern. I'm your host, Lauren Meadows. We'll catch you next week, recording live from somewhere. Have a good week, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fun. Honored to be on.